Thank you very much for being with us today. I am Hugo Neumorny, and I am the chairman of the European CIO Association. Please allow me that on behalf of my colleagues, on behalf of the board of the European CIO and our members, to welcoming you, to thank you for being with us, and to invite you to have a very good and positive experience in our annual conference. So this is the 19th annual conference of European CIO Association. We are an old association, if you can say that. But this is the first event we are organizing for you, which is on a virtual platform. We have to thank to our friends from Accenture that allow us to, they provide us the platform to organize this event, and through which we will try to replicate the same networking experience that we used to have in our annual conferences, which might not be the same as being live, but at least we will try. I will tell you later about the facilities and functionalities we have. So please be welcome with at our annual conference. Whoever doesn't know who is European CIO Association, just allow me to say some words. So we are the only European independent and non-for-profit associations that represents the IT community, the end user side, both public and private. So we are a strong group of global CIOs from Europe and from larger companies, from multinational companies from Europe. And we have, the so-called direct members, and we have alongside with us 5 national bodies that represent the CIOs from France, Italy, Turkey, Bulgaria, and Romania. We used to have more national bodies association, but some of them, they left, but they will probably want to join us later on. In terms of numbers, we are representing, so we used to represent more than 1,000 companies and more than 700,000 employees across the Europe. So basically, we are a voice that counts in Europe. We are a so-called partner of choice for European Commission. And our members are engaged in various activities at European level, in various work groups, in various activities. Just to mention some of them, last year and this year, we help European community in various work groups that address cloud computing, e-skills, cybersecurity, innovation, SWIPO, and education in IT. We had a lot of activities, just to let you know. We have a lot of activities in address in particular for our internal users. We had a long set of webinars and not only webinars, web conferences, newsletters, and network meetings for national CIOs and global CIOs. Just for your information, for instance, last year we had, in general, closed events organized on the Chatham House rules, to be honest, regarding topics like, cybersecurity, complex platform implementation projects, or even relationship with vendors and how to avoid the lock-in. And of course, the role of the CIO into the post-pandemic world. Some of our events are organized are open for public, and what is the great value of this event is that they are completely not covered by any kind of marketing material. So they are full of energy, they are full of information and content because they are coming directly from our members. So if you really want to understand what is, for instance, how the global CIOs solve the, for instance, cybersecurity issues, or how they solve the, complex projects, this is the right place to be. Of course, our events are free of charge and complimentary, and we prepared a lot of seminars and webinars for the next year, and lots of other virtual and networking opportunities. Sanitary crisis put, the CIOs, and you all know that, put the CIOs, put the companies, put the whole society in a situation which, never thought about, nobody thought about it. Lots of pressure to deliver value, lots of pressure to save companies, lots of pressure to save society at the end of the day. And CIOs were in front of this, let me say, battle. You all know that almost overnight we created the so-called new digital workplace. Now we worked also to stabilize the businesses, to stabilize the companies, and then we are preparing to build the IT resilience and to prepare the growth, because at the end of the day, we are preparing the future and the new normal. And I really liked what my friend Yves from Accenture said during the breaks, that now it's a good time to be a CIO, and because everybody is expecting from us new services, new products. Why not to save the companies? So there are a lot of information we are going to share with you during those 4 days of conference. There are lots of hot topics, a lot of important subjects. And, just let me tell you, EU policies and initiatives. I recall you that one of our activity, why not, is to influence the policymaker in European community, and to try to be a counterpart to the lobbying activities of the vendors. Vendors are our partners, our friends, but in some cases we are into the opposite directions. But so we're trying to bring our contribution to an equilibrium in terms of policy making. So we will discuss about EU policies and initiatives, artificial intelligence, business transformation, of course, post-COVID and the new normal. It's a hot topic. And why not digital future of Europe? One important message I'd like to draw to your attention, to all our attendees, me and our Secretary General and our colleagues from the board of EuroCIO, including my colleagues at the end of the day, we will be on our booth at EuroCIO booth. If you're interested to understand, to understand what you're doing, to know us, we are ready to answer to your questions, and why not? I think if you will like us, if you will appreciate what we're doing for the CIOs, why not try to join us? There are some rules, but we will answer to all your questions. And because I'm the guest of the house, let me try to invite you to give you some ideas about the platform. Please try to explore all the facilities. There are a lot. Accenture and we prepared and we tried to offer you a good networking activity. So please prepare your profile, including a photo and interests, because in this way we can match. We can see if we match our interests and other things. So check the browser support. Apparently, Google Chrome is the best platform. Clear your web cache and cookies, and close our windows, because the platform at the end of the day it's pretty intensive in terms of processing. So again, visit our EuroCIO booth. Visit the sponsors. This is the time to thank you to our sponsors and our partners, because this event couldn't be happen without their support. We have a lot of facilities in terms of chat and video networking. You can engage with attendees, with EuroCIO board, with speakers, with video calls, and I would encourage you to do that. And in case you have assistance, because sometimes things are not working always properly, just check the FAQ page, and in case you need support, just please address these questions to technical people. And there is a fine lady who is waiting you into the main lobby, which is Julia. This is a real person, a very nice and fine lady, and she is ready and prepared to answer to all your questions you might have. So once again, thank you very much for your presence. Thank you very much for our partners and our sponsors. Thank you very much, Accenture. And I would wish you a very nice and a good event. And now I'm passing the floor to our moderator, Magnus Franklin, that will guide you to the next days to the conference. Magnus, you have the floor.
Thank you, Hugo, for that excellent overview. You saved me a lot of work there, so I really appreciate it. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Magnus Franklin. I'm an EU policy strategist in Brussels. So I mainly look at all these issues that we'll be talking about from a policy lens. And I can say I will definitely learn a lot from spending some time with you who are at the coalface, really, of the digital transformation to understand how it looks like from a business point of view. Before I was a strategist, I was a journalist for about a decade here in Brussels, writing about digital policy. And I'm delighted to be here in the moderator's chair. And thank you very much to EuroCIO for the privilege. And yes, indeed, I hope you've all found your way around the platform and all the functionalities. Do take your time to meet us all over the course of these 4 days. Now, we have a lineup of all sorts of companies, public authorities, and later on in next week, some European officials as well, who will talk through various aspects of what Hugo was just outlining. Against the backdrop of COVID, of course, everything has changed overnight for us all over the past 6 months, accelerating the use of technology. So I couldn't think of a more relevant time to have this conference. As you probably all know, the event was originally planned for March, and we had to postpone it. I really, am very impressed by what Accenture did to try to replicate the real conference experience in a virtual environment. So that's great. Now, without further ado, you're not here to listen to me after all. I have the pleasure to invite Yves BERNAERT, a Senior Managing Director at Accenture, where he plays a leading role to help companies evolve their digital strategies. And he will be joined on stage by Peter CABELLO, Senior Vice President and CIO at the Danish jewelry retailer Pandora. And they will together explain Pandora's digital transformation story, the shift to the cloud, and really what it means to be a virtual business in the age of COVID. So with that, please, Mr. BERNAERT, I'll give the floor to you.
Thank you. And the team will ping me in case the communication doesn't go the best. I'm connecting from Paris, and I'm very happy, Hugo, that you organized the CIO forum and Magnus to orchestrate it. It's not about my testimony, it's about the CIO testimony. I mean, those days, CIO are very much connecting each other, and today it's a great event. Earlier this week, it was the anniversary of the French CIO Association, which is working closely with the EuroCIO. And I think it's really a time for CIO those days. As Hugo said, there is so much happening, and CIO are really coming at the center of the strategy of company. So yes, myself leading Accenture technology in Europe, very happy to be here, having this experience. I think during COVID, we never communicated so much among ourselves. And this is another opportunity to do it today. And I hope you will love the experience through the platform to exchange with other colleagues and other people connecting. For me, and I hope, and I expect for all of us, COVID has been an inflection point. You know, it has been an accelerator for some company. And of course, we have to recognize it has been a huge challenge for some. But that's during those challenging times, usually it accelerates transformation. And digital transformation was so much needed for all companies, not to just like, hey, let's please help us to reduce the cost, but a way to help the business to survive and to reboost as we're going out of this COVID, which is not really out, but we are going to a new phase. And business had to be more resilient. They had to live with more new experience, launching new product, working in more trusted relationship, be quicker, and of course, in some cases, work on the cost. And what we saw as one specific point, which is somewhere here in this title, is around the migration to cloud. A lot of companies were looking at it. We were about 20% before COVID of workload or server or application being in cloud. and we saw a huge traction because it came as a solution to solve some business challenges. And we strongly believe that this is the moment. The way cloud is coming in is, of course, there is to enhance the technical capability that, to provide the support to the business, but as well an opportunity to create new businesses. So not only a cost reduction, but a digital transformation accelerator. And those things doesn't happen so much in a lifetime, like mainframe, client server, and now cloud. It's a moment, I think, in a technology world, in a CIO expert moment. So for all CIO, I think it's a moment in a career, it's a moment in my career. But it's not about me, it's about Peter, because Peter today, Peter CABELLO, CIO and SVP from Pandora, is here to share his experience. So, and you've done, Peter, a fantastic migration at speed during COVID, took you a year, and it's a fantastic experience to share. So before we go in what happened, maybe you can introduce yourself, Peter.
Thank you, Yves. Yeah, definitely. So good afternoon, everyone. Real pleasure to be here. So my name is Peter CABELLO, and I'm the CIO of Pandora, the world's largest jewelry brand. We sell our jewelry in more than 7,700 point of sales in over 100 markets around the world. And we have, around 28,000 employees. And in 2019, our revenue was approximately 22 billion Danish kroner, or also, 3 billion euros. I'm looking forward to share, our story and the lessons learned, and I hope that they can be of benefit for those who are about to start the journey to the cloud.
Yeah.
But before we kind of kick off into this, then I'm in my home office, like many others, I assume. It's in the middle of autumn break. I have 3 boys and 2 dogs, so I can't guarantee that there won't be a bit of noise in the background. So if that happens, my sincere apologies for that, but it is a new reality that we are in.
Oh, and thank you. We understand. I'm myself in a hotel, so I created a background because it's a bit nicer than the hotel where I am. Mm-hmm. So thanks, Peter. I mean, for all of us, cloud is not really new, but it's a bit the beginning, because when I said 20%, it's not all workload that has moved. And there is always good reason, whether they are technology, security, complexity, legacy, data sovereignty. We hear that a lot those days. And we strongly believe, collectively, talking to most of CIO, that unless you migrate the majority of your workload, we don't get the benefit. So it has to be bold. And I think you can explain, maybe, Peter, the context of your journey to the cloud and what led you to this transformation, and what did you want to achieve before you launched it? What was your goal? Yes, absolutely.
So good question. Now, as I'm not sure you're all aware of this, but Pandora is actually not that old a company. It's only like 20 years old in its current form, and we have been growing tremendously since our foundation, with growth rates, near 20, 25, even 30% some years. But since 17, our growth has significantly slowed down, and our very high profitability was at risk. And previously, we have been acting like a startup, so everything was about speed, and cost was really not a priority. So we threw money, at everything, and succeeded at delivering. But our reality changed and shifted. So I've been part of Pandora for now 4 years now. And when I joined, I took over, a task of building a truly global IT organization, because there was nothing. We had grown so fast that we had market IT, we had regional IT, we had functional IT, we had a small group IT organization. But we decided to build a global IT organization that could deliver truly global services, also with speed. Now, I spent the first 2 years building that. You can call it a traditional IT organization and a mature enterprise grade one. Now, 2 years ago, we sat down in my management team and said, how should Pandora IT 2.0 look like? Because we also noticed that, our growth had flattened out. So that also meant that we in IT, we need to change differently. We also saw that, the ask from the business to deliver services, we needed to deliver it with more speed, We need to standardize services. We need to deliver against our digital strategy. So there were a lot of elements that we need to react to. So we decided to kind of propose an IT transformation that consisted of 3 elements. One was looking at our partners and our basic infrastructure, and a second element was to look at our internal capabilities. So building a very different set of capabilities to deliver against our digital strategies. And then the third element was ways of working. And we started that discussion, actually before we as a company started our transformation program that we called Program Now, getting us back to growth. So we kind of foresaw what the need was. But Program Now, which was a business or company-wide program, was about rejuvenate the brand and drive significant cost savings across all of our operations, looking at our brand and what to do with the brand and how we can use digitalization to drive growth via omni-channel, advanced consumer, advanced data analytics, etc. But savings was a key point, and our transformation journey and our move to the cloud could help us get to these savings. And we wanted to reinvest our savings into growth initiatives, among others to invest in digital capabilities like e-commerce, omni-channel, customer engagement, data-driven growth, etc. And also our project portfolio was very large, and we struggled to deliver on all demands in time with limited developer capacity. So we needed to do something different. And so we needed to look at new technologies, and cloud and moving to the cloud was one very important element in achieving that.
Okay, thank you, Peter. And when you refer to cloud, there is always a huge promises, that we hear about efficiency, innovation, and the business case sounds extremely appealing. But at the same time, what I saw is that when you do it extremely quickly, there is always risk, leaving some legacy application, at the wrong place, having some peak of consumptions which you don't want, and at the same time, the cost is not properly managed. So how did you manage that? What was the business case you did set up, and how did that fit your overall strategy? Maybe in a summary, Peter.
Yeah. So I'll try to do it. As we said, as part of our IT transformation program, we performed an end-to-end review of our IT infrastructure. So we wanted to identify concrete opportunities to improve and transform in line with Pandora's overall business objectives.
Yeah.
Now, after an 8-week assessment and multiple workshops with my leadership and external partners and experts in the area of architecture, security, and infrastructure, we came up with a detailed target picture along with a quite compelling business case and implementation roadmap and plan. And specifically for our data centers, the target picture broadly defined, kind of the following. So along with the consolidation of our IT vendor landscape from more than 60 to only a handful, the target picture was centered around a migration of our on-premise data centers to Microsoft Cloud, except for our crafting facilities in Thailand and some local components which we retained locally due to network latency considerations, etc. But in total, more than 350 applications and approximately 2,400 servers were in scope for transition, transformation, and decommissioning.
No. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Peter. And so related to that, there is always a business case, as you said. And when we do survey and we ask other CIO, we did that recently with 200 of CIOs, and today, this is not very encouraging because 2/3 of them said that they don't get the expected benefit. So there is challenges for some, and there is success for others. I heard it was a success for you. So what factual improvement did you achieve? If you can, because that's
So we are super happy with what we have achieved. One thing is to deliver on the savings, but there are a number of other factors that has been of real benefits for us. So we have designed a detailed cloud solution for our application portfolio.
Okay.
The principles was to move everything to the cloud unless network constraints would not allow for this. Now the priority was to move into the cloud fast. So re-platforming and re-engineering was only considered if feasible within our tight timelines. And remember, we did this when we had the first move till we were done. We did it in less than 8 months.
Yeah.
So we had a target to exit the incumbent data centers in Denmark by 1st of May. Now, in our core applications, our ERP based on Microsoft Arcs and the enterprise messaging bus, our BizTalk, and a large enterprise data warehouse are all based on Microsoft technology. So the team designed the operating system and database upgrades that would help us, to best utilize the cloud platform. So these applications, they represent roughly 40% of our estate and are critical to our business. So therefore, we had a dedicated, team looking after these migrations to make sure they went smooth. For the rest of the application portfolio, we mainly followed a rehosting approach. And besides, the team analyzed the current application portfolio, identified some servers that could be retired. And we actually achieved close to 30% decommissioning ratio on our server park. And remember, we had 2,400 servers in scope, and we found much more than we initially thought. So, next to the cost savings of close to 40%, we onboarded all our applications on an advanced automation platform called MyWizard, also applying Splunk, to look at all the data. And we are now able to proactively identify risk of incidents and remediate them even before they occur.
Okay.
And our server provisioning in the cloud is now, highly automated based on templates, and ServiceNow is our backend for the ordering process.
Okay.
On top of this, we also, we moved our enterprise data warehouse some 400 terabytes to the cloud, which on-premise were running on a high-performance platform based on HP Superdomes. And the team worked on performance and architecture improvements to make this move feasible. So we right-sized our capacity for this stack, and also saved money by having a different approach to it. We were also, able to implement an almost fully automated patching process covering 100% of our infrastructure. And this previously we have, had significant gaps, had many manual efforts on this. So quite a lot has been achieved. We have actually also achieved significant security improvements with our move to the cloud. So we are now, leveraging I think it's called level 7 application layer firewall service on the cloud, and conducted a cleanup of our SQL access. We have also implemented significant service automations, for example, automatic detection and restarts of our application object servers, which are a specific critical component for our Arcs ERP. And ultimately, this, as I said, was a key point in our annual savings of 250 million Danish kroner run rate. And these savings are now reinvested into our program now, as I mentioned before. So it's actually a pretty good story.
Well, that's great. That helps for you to create the future, I expect now, by those savings, Peter. Oh, very clear. But I think, as I say, today a lot don't get the outcome, and I think we need to learn from the success. So maybe some few key success factors. Why did it work? Because some others it does not. So what are your key lessons learned, Peter?
Yeah, so I strongly believe that selecting the right partners and the team is the critical component. So we chose Microsoft for the cloud platform because we had an existing relationship, and many of our applications are already based on Microsoft technologies. As part of the initial assessment of how we could optimize our landscape and save money, then we had confidence in Accenture and Accenture's cloud migration and operations capabilities. We also had worked, very, very closely with Accenture on kind of the initial assessment of what it would take. So you were already, heavily involved in that. Now, also, what was also important that the core team who did the migration was also later, they also later took over, key roles in delivery, making, sure that our daily operations was working. And then, of course, also the right internal team was very important for us. So I made sure that this was anchored at my senior management level, and got my most experienced leaders involved in this, and allocated and make sure that this was, their focus 100%. And similar, Microsoft and Accenture BERNAERT, brought in very experienced people, including domain experts and leads. And that was, I actually think we managed to create a strong connection and a high level of trust, between the different team members. So that was also quite important. Another element that we spent quite a lot of time was to build a very strong program governance across the my IT organization and with the vendors, and to establish that from the start, and making sure that I was involved. So my advice to CIOs listening to this, you can't just assume this works without you getting involved. You really need to stay on top of it. But it was also important for me to have seen the leadership at our strategic vendors involved in this. So when we engaged with Accenture and then our other strategic partners, we made sure that the sponsorship was anchored as high as possible in that organization, because that's also super important when you suddenly need to escalate. Not that we have that many issues, but we did have one during COVID, where suddenly Microsoft with the Azure cloud, they ran out of capacity. That was when I had to reach in high into the organization to get capacity released.
Okay.
So quite a lot of things there are super important, but what's also very important was that this was anchored, and I got the support from our senior executives, meaning our CEO, the executive leadership team. And in this case, the savings of 200 million meant that they were interested in this. So I did have that support and that commitment. And that meant, when we did our migration, I said, there might be hiccups. You need to live with this. So I kind of prepared for potential issues. We didn't see any, but I did prepare for that as well.
Oh, okay. I mean, this is impressive. And I think, Peter, I think what is even more impressive is that you've done that during the COVID time. And you had an initial plan before COVID, and then you've been executing all this
yes.
at the speed you planned before, even with the COVID, maybe quicker, you will tell me. So how come you've been doing this so complex at speed during COVID? I mean, maybe some tips. What happened? How did you do that?
Okay, so and I have to say I'm super impressed with the team, both my own team and my partners here. So of course, COVID was totally unexpected and had a significant impact on the program. Firstly, we needed to quickly switch to a fully remote working home setup. Yeah. And then secondly, we needed to create an alternative staffing plans in the event that people from home would get sick. But both were managed by my team in a very short time frame. So we created that overview and made sure we were in control and we could work from home. But as I mentioned before, then the next challenge we faced was when cloud capacity suddenly was sold out, and then we had to reach in high into Microsoft to get the needed capacity. So I guess it all comes down to that we had some very, very solid plans, and everybody knew what their role was, and that made it possible for us to execute, even though people were doing it from a total lockdown and from their homes.
Okay, well that's incredible, because I think this is a lessons learned to do project differently, not only during this COVID time, but now I guess you're gonna, based on the learning as well, apply that for any new projects coming. So it's a great experience sharing. But Claude, I mean, you mentioned it. You get big gain, and there is always some more opportunity, like doing innovation, or rethinking maybe some new business model about, now that you've done that, what is the next digital journey? Is this migration helping to do new things that you were not able to do before? So what's next?
So I would say, so now the foundation is in place, and our digital strategy, we are, actually these days finalizing our digital strategy to get that signed off at the board of directors, and we hope to get that signed off in December. So there's much more to come. So we'll continue to implement and evolve our digital strategy, and we will, reinvent new services at higher speed. Now with, being able to tap into cloud and provision services faster. Specifically, our digital initiatives, around omni and consumer engagement, data-driven growth, trend detection, and intelligent supply chain, etc. is where we will invest and see invention happening. We will also continue evolving our infrastructure by moving a bit more parts into those that are still on premise. So we are sure that the remaining 30% we can still move more to the cloud. And for example, we're also looking at our ERP, which is currently AX 2020, and maybe click into Dynamics 365, which is the cloud-based SaaS replacement for AX. And also move from our current BizTalk to Logic apps, the kind of next version of BizTalk is also fully cloud-based. And we'll, of course, further work on retiering legacy applications such as our AX 29, which is quite small, and we'll evolve our data warehouse on the cloud into true data lake, utilizing cloud-native services, etc. So we are just started. So a big chunk has happened. We have built the foundation. We now know how to do this, and a lot of lessons learned, but we're not done.
Well, I mean, I guess we are all going to look forward to the new experience. I mean, the new, in the jury, you are the leader. So people are, I'm sure, looking at you in the market as, what's going to come next. What are the new experience for customer? Because now that you have done that journey to cloud, then you can develop new services, I expect. I'm sure there's a lot of questions through that interaction. I've been jeopardizing the time and taking all the questions. I would have a last one, but maybe Magnus, please tell us in terms of timing, if I can ask last questions, or we need to segue to some participant question now. Or...
We have some participant questions, but I think I'll leave you to wrap up. I think if you have some questions, let's finish that narrative arc, and then we'll go to the audience.
Oh, sure. Maybe the segue to the question from the audience, Peter, will be about your advice. I mean, we heard all your experience, and we have many CIO connected today. And maybe you wish to say, what would you tell them, if they want to embark in a similar journey? What's your advice?
Yeah, so what I and maybe it sounds simple, yes, but we constantly have to look 3 and 4 steps ahead, and make bold proposals that on what you think the company will need, because the business and this is I'm talking about the ELT or CEO, they don't know the engine room like we do. They do not always have a clear direction understanding of the IT capabilities that are required. So it's our job to be bold and for us to prompt the transformation by providing a clear vision and target for how things could look like. And with the right vision, the right team and determination, then a complex journey like the one we have done can be realized in a very short time frame. Now we did it from we got the idea to we were done. I mean, when I got the idea, presented it for the CEO, and we did contract negotiations and started the transformation, we did it in less than 18 months. Yeah. But it does require that you lean out. And I did have senior executives that were a little skeptical, to say the least. But if you believe in it, stand firm, and argue your case. It's not always easy, but I firmly believe that that's what you need to do.
Oh, that's great. So I'm taking notes, and mainly what I hear is that now, because of this, now you become the advisor of the CEO, because not only you are improving the IT support, but you are bringing tools for them to invent new services. So they need technology advisor from you and your team to rethink their business. So it's like it changed your level of responsibility, I guess, and your scope. That's
Indeed
great.
It has. So when I started, then IT was a pure order taker. Now we are being asked to drive, the development of our digital strategy. So we are in a very, very different place. And part of the, why we are being asked for that is, of course, that we deliver stuff like this. So there's a lot of trust in IT, because of what we've delivered.
Great. So I had the privilege to ask you all the first questions, but I'm sure, and thanks for all the clear, straight answers. But I know, Magnus, you're going to drive us through some participant question, right?
Yes, thank you both for. I had lots of questions along the way, and I think you answered them all. So I think that was very expertly discussed. We have some questions on the floor, and I just want to remind everyone, you can ask a question. There's a chat function on the left of the screen. You click that, you go into the room chat, and you can write down your question, and we'll feed it to the speakers. There's a certain delay in what when we're speaking and when you hear it. So if you don't feel like your question is picked up immediately, it's because of that. But don't worry, we'll get to it. So the first question, I think, is a question from Luciano Guglielm, which is to do with the rationale for the journey to the cloud. And I think you addressed it in part already, but it's really about, the cost versus transformative potential of moving to the cloud and the digital journey. And I guess the question is really about cost, and I guess that's front and foremost of many CIOs' minds. How did you go about, crunching the numbers and finding out really how much cost savings you could make?
Yeah. So and that did take some time. So as I mentioned in my kind of when I was asked, then we initially actually engaged with Accenture because I heard they did a similar job, for another company. Said, can you help me find 30% on my IT spend? And Accenture said, all right, what's in it for us? I said, if you find 30%, you're invited in to deliver some of the services. Now, I didn't ask anybody else. I asked Accenture. So Accenture came back to me and they said, here it is. So I liked some of it and some of it I didn't like. And then I went back to my CEO and CFO and said, guys, I would like to double click on this. So I invited in a third party to double click on what Accenture had presented. And they helped me crunch all the numbers. So we did look into my baselines, my spend over the last years. So it was a lot of work, but I got help from the outside. And that third party helped me create the deck that I went to the ELT, my CEO, with and said, here it is. It took me 3 to 4 months from when I engaged with Accenture first and gave them 8 weeks. Then I spent another 8 weeks working my way through what Accenture presented so that I was ready to go and present it for the ELT. It is a lot of work. It's difficult.
I think that's a very helpful response, and I guess maybe Yves, I can just turn to you and just explain how it looks like from Accenture's point of view when you're advising companies like Pandora. In sense, what do you need from them to make your support valuable?
But this is what happened with Peter. It's got to be a trusted relationship because they are opening their books to the details. And what Peter said somewhere during our conversation, he talked about the importance of the planning phase. Because the best execution happens when the planning is the best one. And the 8 weeks plus 8 weeks was to create the case and convince management for the case. And when you have a good case, very, very clear, with a week by week plan, that it's all about then executing. And you go to the CEO and you convince the business that not only it's a cost saving opportunity, but then you can bring some add-on. And for us, it's so important to take that time. It may look a bit long. Sometimes we wish to do it quicker, but what we did is that we, and others did, but what we did is that we developed tools. We talked about MyWizard or MyNav, which is how to accelerate the assessment because you can automate a lot of things. And I think, so whatever we can automate, we do during that phase, but it's important to add that phase. And then the trusted relationship, I think, together with Peter has been very important himself, but with his team, because then it's all about execution. And during that execution, what I think is also very important is that we need to recognize that the talent need to be transformed. The people you need, the people you had before versus the people you need to do the transformation and the future development are different skills. And you can, if you embed in the plan all the talent transformation, then you get a very successful outcome because your team is extremely engaged and happy. I think for me, it's all about people. If you get them on board during those phases initially, then it's a kind of a boulevard. Problems comes, right? But then it runs well.
And I think, I said that Pandora IT 2.0 was not just about a cloud migration. It was an important element in our IT transformation, but savings also came from other elements that we implemented. But as you say, Yves, then the talent side, the capability side, I baked that into the transformation. So it's one thing about partners and migration to the cloud, another way of doing service desk, is capabilities, and then there's new ways of working. So I painted a picture of a full program, now moving IT from a traditional IT organization to an organization that was, clicking into modern technologies with a different set of capabilities and a different way of delivering, where we could deliver faster. So it was that package that the ELT thought was very attractive, and they bought into it, because it did also cost money to do it. That was a healthy business case, but it also had a price tag to get it done.
Sure. Can I just continue on the theme of the talent that Yves brought up? I mean, one of the things in my limited interactions with CIOs so far, but one thing that always comes up is it's difficult to find the right people, not least because they will if you need tech talent, they might go to Microsoft, or they might go to Google, or indeed Accenture. But if you're Pandora, you might not be drawn into that company because of its profile if you were looking for a tech career. Peter, what did you do to get the talent you needed onto the team?
So that's actually, it's a good story, because we also have a CDO in our company, and him and I, we developed a plan or the thought about making or promoting Pandora as a digital powerhouse. And part of that was to build what we call our digital hub in Copenhagen, building a team of, actually it's about 200 headcounts that we are building, working with digital initiatives like consumer journey, online shopping, omnichannel, etc. And making data strategic bets. So even our CEO was, out promoting this for our investors, and we used that, in different magazines, different medias, promoting and building it. So while doing transformation of after the engine room, you could say, and then also promoting Pandora as a different type of organization, attracting a different set of profiles, and building, actually a whole new space with different profiles that can build this powerhouse that we wanted Pandora to be. So we were using all kind of different channels and methods to do this, but we are actually live now with our digital hub in Copenhagen, and we have roughly 2/3 of these people on board, and it has kind of there's a lot of acknowledgement and hype around this, so that has helped to us to attract talent, and it's actually from all over the world.
Very good. That's fascinating, and really thanks for that little insight. We're getting another question, and I think so. The question is really, what was the main driver for your journey to the cloud from a business perspective? I mean, you covered a lot of that, but I think where maybe it's interesting to take it is about the new capabilities. In a sense, when you go to the CEO and the management, the executive team, and you say, these are the things that we can do, that Pandora can do a few years down the line, once it's gone digital. Maybe just give us a bit more flavor about what those shining lights might have been.
Yeah, so one thing specifically is our use of data. So now moving our stack to the cloud, tapping into new technologies, it will actually help us provision data faster. So today, last week's sales is not available until I think it's Wednesday evening. We are promised, that this will be real-time data, and that will be part of, of course, also implementing ARX 365 in the cloud and tapping into a different BizTalk setup, and also moving our EDW, to the latest Microsoft technologies. But that's the roadmap that we have. So that's one example. So simply making, data available faster, real-time in many cases, so we can make better decisions faster.
And this is happening. I mean, this is a fantastic example from Peter, and I think the way he illustrated, having immediate data available, doing different analytics that were not possible before to take better business decision, And at the same time, he referred to this model of factory that you have created, with that team where the CEO is branding it in front of the investors. And I saw a large company in Europe recently, they launched that in January during the COVID, and they created the same type of team. And the CEO committed to the market that because of this, he will create an incremental $1 billion revenue because of those new services created. So the level of impact that a transformation like that is bringing is simply massive. I mean, it's exactly what Peter said. It's moving away from being someone called you for a service, right? And then you become a revenue generator. It's a tremendous change for CIO at the leadership table, talking about revenue increase because of new ideas through tech. I mean, it's a completely change from the roles that we had all before. So just want to insist on that, Peter, because for me, it is a huge transformation.
Absolutely right, Yves.
And I mean, on that theme and the changing role of the CIO, I mean, if you are reporting to the CEO and the executive team in a way that gives them new business ideas and so on, it also in a sense exposes the CIO function to a lot more to many different parameters than before. You said, before you just used to buy kit and make it work, right? And now it's not more about helping transform the business. Do you feel that the executives around in the world understand what they can and should ask of a CIO, or is there a mismatch still?
So is that for me, Magnus? Yeah,
that's me.
Yeah, so no, I think there's still some way to go, to be honest. I think, call it the CIO, CDO, whatever, should have a seat in the management board, the executive leadership team. And still in many organizations, that's not the case. Now in Pandora, there's a shift. I don't report into the CEO, but who knows what the future will bring. But there's definitely a need because 80% of the projects that we're running in the company has a tech element. And as you said, Yves, suddenly technology will become an enabler to drive growth. And that means that the CEO will need to talk technology and be able to talk technology, and so does the rest of the ELT, the executive leadership team.
Yeah, and there is a way to go, but I mean, Pandora is a great example as a signal of change. Maybe you saw recently in my country this week, the famous beauty company L'Oréal is announcing a change in leadership. So the CEO will hand over to a new CEO, and the co-CEO, the deputy CEO, Barbara Lavernos, she is now in charge of research, innovation, and technology.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
You see? So It means that technology is the enabler of innovation for new products, not just to do, let me support your business, but to invent the new product. And what they call for them augmented beauty is all about bringing technology to invent the new beauty, the beauty of the future, which is going to be augmented. So there are some signs that we see in the market that are very positive, because CEO are really starting to understand that leveraging technology in a different way brings top line outcome. And I think what Peter has experienced, we're going to see that more and more everywhere. And this is something that I think we can be pleased, because it creates tension for CIO in the sense of challenges, but it's the time it's their moment to step up and have those top line conversations.
Yeah.
Right? I'm aware that my key skill in all this is keeping the time, and we are really running out of time. But we did have a final question from the audience on the skills, and I think it's a very good one. And it's basically, the question is, how important has it been having skills relating to a large amount of data or software for analysis, etc., and how much of it has been, let's say, other human touch kind of skills, on the team? I mean, do you only need the data scientists, or do you think?
No.
People...
So when we when I say the different set of capabilities in Pandora IT, it was both cloud competencies, it was data engineering, advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning. It was actually also contract and vendor management. It was resources around capacity optimization in the cloud, because my worst fear is that capacity spirals out of control, so you're not in control of what you actually purchase and provision through the cloud. It was also change management. So throughout this whole transformation, then introducing agile ways of working, clicking into new partners and new technologies. Then I had to also deal with the change in my organization. So it was a lot of different capabilities that we were thinking of and have built in the organization. At the same time, then I had people knowing all about our 600 applications globally, and many of them were not strategic. So I could also kind of say, let's not focus on those, but let's build capabilities where there's a real strategic benefit from knowing that stack and to build on that.
Oh, that's a superb component. And I know it's the last question. So Peter's point, I mean, we talked about there is few components in a project like that. And of course, there is the migration and modernization. You need to do it. And there is a business case attached to it. That's priority one. Next, which is not in order of priority, but is the talent, where you need to embark your people to rotate themselves to all the skills that Peter has just mentioned. And I think then you have what we said, all the new development. So you need to prepare your team to be able to develop in those new environments. So the new development, the new business that we can create. And then, by the way, fourth, we have not mentioned is the green stuff, the green IT, because when you do that, you improve your carbon footprint. So if you manage well those four components, putting your talent at the core, you make a successful program, which is a transformational program, not just an IT, but for the full company.
I feel like we could.
So, yeah, sorry.
I feel like we could spend the whole day on this, but unfortunately, time is a tyrant. But I learned a lot. I think everyone else in the room did as well. Normally, we'd have a round of applause, but that's a bit challenging in the digital environment that we're in. But really, thanks a huge amount to both of you. And I think it's I just want to remind everyone that Peter and Yves will be available in the rest of the platform. There's a networking room, there's an exhibitor space, etc. So feel free to ask any additional questions you might have had on the platform. It seems to work very well, so should be fun to see it play out.
And Magnus, there is a virtual booth as well, so some experts, you can go and talk to some experts at Accenture if they wish. But just so you can close, I want to say thank you to Peter, not only down that program for you, but spending the time today to testimony, because I think it's a time where we all need to learn from great experience. So congratulations and thank you for sharing your experience, Peter.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Yves. So with that discussion closed, we now have the opportunity to look at another case study. And I want to welcome Luca PALEARI, the CIO of Italian book distributor Emmelibri, and Thibaut, the country manager for France for Dropbox, the cloud provider, who supported Emmelibri in their development of a collaboration platform that certainly has proved its weight in gold during the COVID crisis over the recent months. So I'd like to invite, and again to the audience, please ask questions. You can do it during the course of the presentation, just type them into the chat box and we'll pick them up at the end. But indeed, we'll start with Thibaut, and you can maybe give us an overview of what Dropbox developed for Emmelibri, and then Luca, you can describe how it's worked on your end.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks a lot. Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you. So my name is Thibaut Champey. I'm the country manager for Dropbox in France. And so today we're going to be looking a little bit about digital transformation, and I'm going to see if I can move to the next slide. Yes, wonderful. And so just as a quick introduction to give you an overview of what we do at Dropbox. You might know, of course, the collaboration tool that we have for consumers, but on the business side, we have more than 450K teams who are using Dropbox around the world. And throughout their journey to use our tools and to sort of start to embrace the cloud digital transformation and the new ways of working, they usually give us some feedback about, how they work and what they feel is broken. And something which was coming back quite regularly when we were discussing with customers is really how much time they were really spending in their day to do their job and not doing something else. And by that, we mean the time that you have throughout your day and your weeks where you can use your skill set and not do any kind of other mundane task or less value-added task. And so you can look at it and try to see for yourselves, if you look at your week, how much time do you spend really focusing and doing meaningful work? Is it like 90%, 75%, 50%, or is it even less than that? And so we've been working with a consulting firm which is called Venton Bourne, and they started to look at knowledge workers and see exactly what that was meaning for them and how we could measure it. And actually, it's really staggering because the feedback that we got from that study is that really the way we work is really broken, and the numbers that we had that we can share with you now are a bit struggling. The first one is that if you look at business leaders, they were telling in the study that they spend 1/3 or more of the time on tasks that are really not critical in terms of the value that they had to their core job. So that's quite a lot. And we also see that almost 20% of the people were telling us that they were wasting half of their time, just tracking emails, tracking down information, content, and getting everything together. And I think that's really something we're seeing more and more today, where in your work day, you do what we call work about work a lot. And it's about, getting all the information together from your email, your documents, your file servers, the various communication tools that you're using throughout the day. And it's getting very difficult for people to stay focused and also to feel happy about it, because it's a very stressful experience in the end for the users to have to always constantly go back and forth between those different applications. So in average, you can be switching between 10s, 20s, or even more applications throughout your day to just get things done. And so that's very impactful for the people. So at Dropbox, we really think that we need something to fix that. And this is one of the missions that we've embarked on with what we've been calling the smart workspace, And the idea behind that is really to help your team really focus and work together on what's important and not be too much everywhere. And I think that one of those missions to find the right tools for that is falling down to the CIO, which really brings me to the conversation and today's presentation that we're going to have with my special guest, Luca, which I'm super happy to welcome. And so Luca is the CIO of Emmelibri, and they've been a Dropbox business customer for a couple of years. And we're going to have a nice discussion, and he's going to be able to share with us how he's been going through that transformation. Hi, Luca, and really
Hi.
Thanks for being today.
Hi, everyone.
The first thing maybe that we can start with is sort of a quick introduction from your side on what Emmelibri does, how many offices that you have, and how is the business structured.
Yeah, of course, yes. So, good afternoon to everyone. I'm really happy to be here talking with you, trying to share our experience with Dropbox. And today I'm here at our office. We are very few people present now. Right now, 90% of people are working from remote. You can see, there is no one in the office. And today is my test day because the company is testing for COVID H1, freely and for free. So I hope I will be negative. So let's talk about my company. Emmelibri is an holding company that has a service provider role inside Messaggerie Italiane Group. That group runs a book publishing and distribution business as well. We are based in northern Italy and mainly in Milan area. We have more or less 600 employees, and the whole group is composed by 30 companies. We bought a couple of more, so 32, something like that, spread across 15 locations. And we service thousands of customers, including the Italian bookshops. So as a book publisher, we brought to Italy global bestseller or giga seller, as we say in this market, like Harry Potter saga that I think and also books like Becoming by Michelle Obama, and you can name a lot of bestsellers that we brought to Italy. As a group service provider company, we deliver all the staff services for the whole group, of course, including IT. And that's the reason why we need to be hyper collaborative across departments, teams. We have different office spread all over, and of course with our customers as well, and and everything in between. So my role as CIO, like I think many other in the audience, is to make the business function as effortlessly as possible, as secure as possible, and that's where the Dropbox for Business come into the place.
Yeah, and so before talking about Dropbox Business and how you've been deploying it, can you give us all like an understanding of some of the challenges you were facing as an organization and amongst your team also?
Yeah, of course, I'll try. We had a lot of teams from different departments and office locations, so they're working on the same project, and the collaboration process was tend to be slow. We used a lot of email attachments, and they went out of control very easily because you're losing control of the version. You're receiving a lot of the same attachment. You need to keep track of that. And that's one of the reasons, the innovation pace is slowing down. And this is a kind of business you need to, to be able to innovate or do things differently, because we are facing, big competitor in the market. So we need to, to innovate at a very high pace. All those situations cause IT to create a lot of workarounds, because people from the different team, the different department continuously are asking us to create some ways to collaborate in a better way. So we need to create tricks to share files between different companies, because we run different domain controller, we run different authorization domains. So we need to to put some challenges. This is putting a lot of challenges in our infrastructure, and that's the reason why we are looking for a new solution.
Yeah, so it looks like the technology you were running at that time were a bit like blocking you and not really enabling you. So can you explain a little bit what was your pre-existing infrastructure like, and what really the impact it was having on the business and also on your growth as a company?
Yeah, our previous infrastructure, I think it was a very common file sharing on-premise solution. I think that many of us is still running or was running on the same solution. You can name it NetApp, EMC, Microsoft File Sharing, on some stuff from open source sharing file tool and something like that. The tools are good enough. We have been using for many years, but when we start working cross-office, cross-departmental to improve the business, to improve the speed of our innovation, this start becoming a problem. So we recognize that we needed to move to a more digital platform if we wanted to improve productivity and solve the collaboration challenges that our team were facing. The old model was creating frustration amongst our people, reducing productivity, forcing people to work via email, as I told before, and all these create a lot of pressure on IT to fix it. So we need to find out a way to solve it.
Yeah. So when you say slowing things down. Can you maybe share some of those really tangible challenges that you had?
Yes. You know, the difficulties in collaborating between the various teams and various companies have slowed down the innovation. And this is really crucial for our companies that have to compete in the market, as I said before, dominated by players like, you know, such as the biggest and most famous online bookseller in the world. I cannot name it, of course, but you can imagine it's the biggest one. And you need, you know, the time to market for a new solution and initiative was lower as well. And this is bad, absolutely bad. This has a negative impact on our customer satisfaction. The customer expect more speed, more agility from an organization like ours, because on the other side, they are so fast. So we need to, you know, keep the pace. And, you know, it was this employee and business impact that forced us to look for another solution. We wanted to make it easier for our team to work together on projects and ideas from wherever they were. So they felt empowered to be productive and deliver the best result to our customers. So that's more or less the reason.
Yeah. So I guess at that point, you've probably started to do your due diligence, like looking at the security accreditations that the vendors were having, and also the integration capabilities, and probably worked also with the business to make sure that you were making the right call for their for what they wanted to achieve, and lastly, you probably made your purchasing decision. But that's really just the start of a pretty big transformation project. So what really happened next?
Yeah, we started, you know, running a kind of pilot across the whole IT. Okay, our organization, you know, is a mid-sized organization here in Italy, and our IT department is not a huge one. We are 15 people, plus a lot of consultants. So we decided to use ourselves as a test case, as a test bed to understand the platform. So we wanted to understand how to use all the features, how to manage users, create groups, give permission, you know, trick with authentication and the different integrations that we would like to leverage, of course. So we spent a couple of months at this stage, and then a further month or two completing the internal approval process, because we have an approval process to be completed. So we started the pilot in June 2019, and way before the COVID-19, of course. And then we completed the full migration during the Italian lockdown timeframe. So at the beginning of the lockdown, we were at 75% of our migration plan. And during that time, we speed up a lot of our process, and we completed during the lockdown.
Yeah, I guess it was important for everyone during the lockdown to be working on those tools to alleviate some of the things we've been seeing. So what was the thinking behind taking that sort of phased approach where you did your pilot first and then go on for a larger rollout?
You know, we are firmly convinced that, you know, we are book publisher and book distributor. So the culture is part of our way of working, okay? So we cannot force the people to use a tool and that's it. We cannot do in that way. So it's important as a CIO that you are seen to implement tools that the employee really want to use, okay? So the idea is to showcase the benefit of this tool for them in their everyday work, rather than just enforcing new technology. So we had to go through and understand on ourselves before trying to push to the user. And the other problem is that we had to know that when we made the switch, it will be really adopted by the business. Otherwise, we wouldn't see the best return on investment from the rollout. The real value of a solution like Dropbox, like this one, is when you get an high adoption rate inside the company. Otherwise, some people is using, some other is not using. You can leverage all the features. If it's kind of it's kind of back and forth tool you need to have all over.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you're right. The adoption is key when doing some transformation project like that. So you're rolling out across the business and bringing your employees on board. How did that happen?
Well, we started with a simple and very effective training session with the small groups. So we invited people, opening up a few options, few scheduled time, and they pick up a day with an hour and a half. Some people of my team just trained the user, and during that time frame, they enrolled also the users into the platform. So we created a user at that time frame, and we started teaching and having the user log in into Dropbox, because we federated with our landscape, with our ADFS, so it's really easy to get the user on board. After that, we gave our user 4 to 6 weeks to get familiar with the interface. The file access path is really different. It's not, the classic letter and slash and backslash and something like that. The sharing approach is so different. You need to, to learn how to use it. The security settings, you are free to share, but you need to be, aware of what you're doing. There is no more IT that is protecting you by doing an error and sharing outside the world what you are not supposed to. So you need to take care of your files and the security settings. Then there is the smart sync. This is so important feature, but you need to understand how to say, okay, I want this one to be in the cloud, this one to be on local. And then we push a lot of mobile app installation, because we want the people having the access to the files and all the other stuff on mobility, especially in this time, of course. So we push on on company mobile devices, and we encourage also people to install on the personal ones. Okay, not all are doing it, but we hope they will do very soon in the future. So we try also to motivate the people by granting them a large data storage for personal accounts as a gift, because Dropbox is so huge as a space, is unlimited, totally unlimited. So in the past we were fighting against company storage use for personal content, and right now not anymore, because it's not a big deal. We just need to cover some GDPR rules and privacy rule, but we are happy with that, and our colleagues are very happy to be able to store their personal photos or music and something like that in their area. It's a very personal one. So at the very end, we started working with the department manager, because the most important part of a project like this, in my personal opinion, is to create the right team folder structure. Dropbox has this kind of concept, a team folder, and you need to host the team working file. We faced this complex analysis, because I think that this is the most complex part of the process, and it's still ongoing, because we are facing some resistance to change, and a few consultation we got back from the end user, try to arrange and leverage their suggestion. We want our manager to think about the process instead of their own team's workload. We really think that the team folder are supposed to be process folder. Maybe you can change the name. It's a kind of process folder, not the team folder. Because if you have a company, you build a company that's oriented to the process, then the folder must follow the process. You need to find all the information that are related to the process, not the single team, and then the other team you need to move and share between team folders. It's kind of mess, okay? So we are trying to, force them to change their mind, and it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Someone is much smarter, someone not, but we are doing it. We're doing it. We are very happy about that.
Okay. I'll take your suggestion along with our product team about renaming the team folders, definitely. Yeah, I think what is interesting that you just mentioned is that you have to manage the resistance of the users, resistance to change that we all see when we do such a transformation projects. Any advice you would give to the audience on that?
I think I can give a couple of advice. The first one is that you need to use Dropbox by yourself with your IT team, and you need to use, as the only system to share files. You need to involve the business in your process using Dropbox to showcase how easy and feature-rich it is. In any meeting, you can use paper to take note. In any mail share, you can, use the share link. In any document review, you can invite your colleague to comment the document using Dropbox. You have to make them, want to use the same tool because it's smart, easier, and even cool. Okay, so I think this is the first advice. The second one, you can try to identify, some people in the business that already love Dropbox. Dropbox is very commonly used, around the world, and share them with your vision for a better way of working. I think we did that they will be more than happy to help and, shine between colleagues as a new tool expert. We leverage that one tricky way as well, and it worked.
Okay. So looking at really the decision to go with Dropbox Business, why did you decide that it was the best solution for Emmelibri?
Well, there were, different reasons, of course, and Dropbox stood out, for us for some of that. First of all, the one that I just told you, it's a very well-known product. Many of our employees already use it in their personal lives, so we knew this would help a lot driving the adoption. Then it has a very simple, user and familiar interface, which we knew will be well received by some of our less tech-savvy employees. Okay, we are more than 100 years old company, so there are people from every age, and the average age of our company is a little bit higher, okay, than the others. So we need to have tools that are also easy to use and very familiar, okay? Then we have a lot of feature, and the Smart Sync is one of the most interesting because we have a huge file sharing system, and we cannot, replicate any files into the laptops. It's kind of impossible, okay? So this is a very good feature, and the people could work with a Wi-Fi during, a flight and make sure that the files are synchronized later on. Another and most important part in the integration, okay? So Dropbox has, deep and wide range of integration capabilities. And the most important one for us was with Zoom, for example, because, our rollout of Zoom was more or less, at the same time and with the same pace of the one with Dropbox. And we want to keep this tool all together. And, we are very happy with this integration as well. I can tell you that yesterday I was attending the keynote of the Zoomtopia that is, taking place yesterday and today as well. And during the keynote, they presented a new feature. It's called Zap, like Zoom application. And I was more than happy to see that Dropbox is already there. So Dropbox has already the integration. So I can't wait to test it out and spread across our users, because that's the reason why we select this kind of tool, the capability to be integrated and so we can leverage each other. That's very good. Yeah. Then, at the very beginning, we did not consider paper as a strategic tool. Yeah, I personally was a little bit against paper. Okay, I need to say the truth. But after the initial, doubts that we had, we started using it, and right now it's part of our process, and we realized that is, it's kind of unique selling proposition as well. And so we want our user to use it. We are trying to use and show how to use it. And then, of course, last but not least, the unlimited storage plan. Of course, it's very useful for us.
Yeah. So on what you mentioned about SmartSync, just to make sure the audience understand what it is, it's the capability that you have in Dropbox to just synchronize some part of your Dropbox space into your laptop so that it doesn't saturate your local hard drive. And yes, I think Zoom integration is probably one of the things that we see a lot of value in. What was it so crucial for you in your decision process to have that Zoom integration?
I'm really happy because that you asked me that, because I'm really proud of our Zoom installation. So at that time, we were in the process of moving our entire communication and collaboration infrastructure from Cisco, a classic UC installation, to Zoom. And we did it and completed during the lockdown. We have invested a lot of effort in this process. we were so excited by the upcoming Zoom Phone as well feature, because we would like to fully enable our workforce to be really free to work from everywhere easily. And this was decided before the lockdown. Okay, so the integration with Zoom and Dropbox was crucial. It's kind of essential that any collaboration system must be smoothly integrated with Zoom for us, and Dropbox enabled this to leverage the best of both platforms. And so once more, I'm so happy yesterday to see that you're keeping the pace with this integration at the Zoomtopia.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, with the crisis that it and COVID, having such tool at hand is really helping us. Maybe you can share a little bit, because I think that's a topic that's been top of mind for a lot of us in the last months. It's a massive shift, for a lot of companies. Can you share a little bit how Emmelibri adjusted to this new normal with the pandemic?
Yeah, I guess that I think as many other, we have been lucky enough or smart enough because we took some decision before. And, we had all the critical tools already in place, or at least, already selected before the lockdown. So we were already on our journey. Okay, we were in a very good situation. So we were very good position before the lockdown started. So, and we had just to, keep pushing on our plan and do little fixes with the tool itself. Right now, that smart working that was considered a fancy IT mode before the lockdown. It's a reality in our company as well. And people are more than happy to stay at home and live, work and personal life boundaries in a much more smooth way. So that's the reason why. The problem is that, sometimes the management team is not on the same page yet. Okay, we still need to get them used to manage people from remote. This is one of the most difficult part of the smart working from the people that did never done before. Okay.
Yeah. That's a whole other topic about the challenges of managing an organization remotely, of course. So maybe we should move forward, because I know the time is ticking. Can you reflect a little bit with us on your journey up till now, and perhaps I would say give the audience some kind of preliminary results from your rollout of Dropbox business?
Yeah. I have to say that we are still in the early stages because we just completed during the lockdown, of course, but the results are really, transformational. We are really happy. The desktop app has been a game changer in helping, I really think that transforming files and folders into information. There are no more piece of file. There are information that you can share and see and, comment. Smart Sync, of course, I told already before, is saving a lot of space and time. Paper surpass our expectation, mine personally. And also the project management has been simplified because you can have a team folder, you can have a process folder, and you can have a project folder, okay? And in that project folder, you can have tasks to do, delegate people, comment, and share all the information. Also, external consultant to be involved in the project is much easier now. You do not need to create an internal user, give permission, create a VPN. You can just share the folder and have them, collaborating with you. It's in a quick way. Then we also integrated Five9. I know that is one of the sponsors. We moved during pandemic our customer service to Five9, a cloud-based platform, and it's integrated with Dropbox and Zoom as well. We are going to, leverage the Zoom integration very soon. Our publishing company is sharing, with external media production agency, a lot of large video files, and they are using time-based comments, right in the video to accelerate any changes so they can point out a comment and see in the right place on the video. So, I think that the pandemic and the lockdown restriction has helped people to be more flexible, for sure, because they were forced to be flexible. But the user really adopted and embraced the solution. We are really happy about that.
Okay. And maybe your last question, because before we open to the audience if they want to ask also some questions. So looking ahead in the future, what would usually the success and I would say the ideal way of working look like for you in the future, and how far do you think you are from achieving it?
I think we need to, the journey will be still a little bit longer than I want, but we want to get to a paper-free company. Okay, that's the idea. And Dropbox is, of course, the most important strategic component of our plan. And then we already evaluated and selected the e-signature platform. And then we are moving our enterprise integration platform. We were using SAP product. Right now, we are moving to cloud one. So the idea is to, be free from the paper. And it's hard to say because the paper is the basic of the books. So we need to print books on paper. We have digital books, but we need to work without paper. And that's a kind, a counterintuitive, but I think that's our future. And we are definitely closer to our pre-COVID target. But, new idea are coming out, and I think that more innovation has to come here in Emmelibri to be at the end of our journey.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Luca. Can we maybe open the Q&A now? If, I don't know, we have some questions from the audience.
Absolutely. Thanks both. And I, from maybe a lot of us mainly knowing Dropbox as the place that you use to share large files, to seeing this amazing array of features, I think was an eye-opener. We do have some questions, and one of the ones that I think was already more or less answered was from Hugo, which is about to look at about how much training, how much handholding you needed to do. But maybe given that the answer was more or less there, we can just ask, Dropbox and its functionalities are not going to be static, right? And how much do you foresee, Luca, and maybe Thibaut, you want to weigh in as well, about holding the staff hand throughout the evolution of the platform as it develops? Have you, foreseen ongoing, let's say, training?
Yeah. From my perspective as a customer, we have a strong relationship with Dropbox. So we get all the information way before. And so we are up to date. We can test some beta features. And we are leveraging Dropbox as well to spread information. So we create some folders where we put some, self-training material. Part is based on Dropbox that is sharing with us, so we translate to Italian because we are not, speaking English so well, so they prefer to read Italian here back in Italy. And we are forcing user through our intranet. We are pointing out to these documents, and we, as I said already, we start using on ourselves as the first usage. Okay, and then we share the user, we invite to share new feature, we invite to comment in a new way, and the other one will follow for sure. They ask how to do that. You're doing this cool stuff. Yesterday in the meeting, I saw you're doing that. Why I'm not enabled already? Okay, and that's the best question we could receive.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think it's, change management is really a key thing when you do those kind of projects. And it's, of course, about making sure that people understand not only the tool, because I think the tool is one thing, and we have a saying at Dropbox, which is about the user interface, which is like a user interface is like a joke. If you need to explain it, means that it's not that good. So we tend to focus on making products that are easy to use. But what is really important is then for the users in the different contexts to understand how the tools can, help them be more productive in their day and solve problems. And that's very specific to every company. So that's why change management needs to be really tailored at, what you can do with the tools in your specific context, and then get all the benefits out of it.
Yeah. Very good. One question for you, Thibaut, and then I realize we're running out of time, so I'm sure we can take the conversation into the networking room, etc. afterwards. But one question for you, Thibaut, would be, it's a competitive marketplace out there. There are lots of choices, parameters, different vendors to consider, different layers of integration, and so on. I mean, what does your perfect customer look like? Who do you want to really get into the shoes of? And who's it? Let's say, who's the Dropbox proposition really aimed for?
So we work with really different type of customers, but I think I would say the key factor to embrace the vision of Dropbox is to really want to transform the way people work and make sure that we really have a more, I would say, streamlined experience throughout the day with working with Dropbox integration, like we mentioned with Zoom, all the tools that we use in the day. And so, and there's also a strong focus on the content, and really it's collaboration around the content. That's what Dropbox is really aiming for with the smart workspace. And then after that, of course, we have some verticals where we get a lot of tractions, like for example, all the media industry, whether it's book publishing, but also media as video publishing, because Dropbox is an easy place for you to store all your media assets and be able to share them very easily with internal and external parties while doing some commenting and what we call asynchronous collaboration, which is more and more something we want to advocate, especially as we are all working from home. It's really important to have those tools that really facilitate your life.
Very good. And unfortunately, as speaking of asynchronous, we're out of sync with the program. But really, again, a very fascinating case study. We don't have any more questions from the floor, but really everyone is encouraged to go chat to Thibaut and Luca in the networking session afterwards. We have until 4 o'clock, so 25 minutes to go to the networking room, check out the exhibition booths in the other rooms, etc., and network. You can do video networking. You can download people's business cards. It's all very snazzy. Take a few minutes to work it out how it works, and then go meet people, continue the conversation, and do what we do best, which is learn from each other. I just want to really close. Thanks both for that insight into another flavor of digital transformation. And again, big thanks to Yves from Accenture and Peter from Pandora. And I really hope you all learned something and that you can take something back to your digital transformation journey that I'm sure you're all in the middle of. So enjoy the networking. Remember also to fill in your profiles in the, there's a little profile editing button so that people know who you are, what you're interested in. Add a photo, make yourself personable. So then you know who you're talking to, and the people that you're talking to know who you are. And with that, I mean, we have 4 days to run. This is certainly not the end of it. It's an amazing platform. I hope you enjoy it. And before I sign off and leave you to get chatting, I just want to say a massive thanks to everyone else that made this experience possible. You see me now on the screen, but there's a whole team here in the room with me, Dominic, Lena, and Julia, the whole Accenture production team. There are more than 12 of us on this call to manage the video production and everything. It's really a huge team effort, and I'm really glad it seems to be working flawlessly. So again, thank you to the whole EuroCIO Summit team. You can stick around until 4 o'clock. Continue networking, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow at 2 p.m. for the next round of presentations. And that's all from me, Magnus Franklin. Many thanks, and see you tomorrow.